Welcome back. I'm Cousin Vinny, the critically acclaimed author of The Devil's Glove, and this is our Bedtime with Cousin Vinny series. We're going to continue on with page 26 where I left off. We're going to read quite a bit of this book, probably about 180 pages of it by the time we're done. So get ready. The ultimate tease is about to begin. All right, page 26, where I left off with you guys. Alrighty. There was a pecking order as Mr. Green made his selections of the pieces of chicken he preferred first. Billy's three older brothers made their choices next. By the time Billy and Michael made their picks, only legs and wings remained. Billy and Michael both had legs. The three younger boys had mostly wings. When the meal was over with, all that was left was a wing, some liver, and gizzards for Mrs. Green to dine on. Sadly, she dined alone. At the end of the meal, Mr. Green started a conversation with Michael. He remarked that he had heard from his son that he was involved in baseball, and he wondered in what capacity. Michael started to relive the conversation in his mind. "Yes, I've been involved in caretaking at Comiskey for almost 10 years now," Michael responded. "So, you were around during the Black Sox scandal, huh?" Mr. Green asked. "No, sir, that was a few years before my time with the club." "Did you play ball?" "I played a little, but I never really was very good at it." "Well, Michael's the name, right?" "Yes, sir." "Well, Michael, my older boys are very talented ball players. They're all playing on the same team at the high school. I don't want to beat around the bush with you. What I'm trying to get at is whether or not you've got any connections with the Sox, so maybe they'd send a scout out to come down and give them a look-see." "Regrettably, sir, I'm not involved in that end of the business." "Well, Billy, this guy's no use to you. Why are you spending so much time with him?" "Because I like him, Dad." "What's wrong with you? Haven't you ever heard of friends before? Haven't you ever liked anyone because you liked them and not for what they could do for you?" "You better watch your mouth, young man. I'll paddle your ass right on the spot. I don't care whether your friend is here or not. What's he gonna do about it?" Mr. Green said menacingly as he looked over at Michael confrontationally. Michael did not take the bait and stayed out of the argument. "Then paddle my ass. You're nothing but a colossal embarrassment. You know that?" Billy screamed as he ran away from the table. Michael got up and raced after him, finally catching up to him on the front porch. Billy started to cry his eyes out on Michael's shoulders. Through his tears, Billy said, barely audibly, "Oh, Michael, I'm so sorry that my father's such a jerk. Will you still be my friend?" "I'll always be your friend. I love you, kid," Michael said comfortingly. Those words from long ago echoed in his head again. That was the first time he'd ever told the boy he loved him. He stopped his shoveling, looked over at the tarp that enclosed Billy's body and said, "And I still do love you. And I'll always love you. And I'll always be your friend." The tears of loss started to flow down his face again. His irrational side told him to climb right into the body bag and die alongside his beloved son. But his rational side took over and told him to cover up the shame and the embarrassment of the suicide. He resigned himself to the belief that he was obligated to help save Billy's dignity and memory. Thoughts of Billy's dignity and pride during life filled his head. Suddenly, he found himself observing one of Billy's high school baseball games. Michael was very proud of Billy's accomplishments while playing high school baseball, and he attended the games so religiously that many thought that he was the boy's father. The boy brought his game to a higher level whenever he knew Michael was in attendance. Aware of this fact, for years Michael had made a point to always attend any games that he knew Billy was playing in. In those days, there was no such thing as Little League, so Michael ended up watching many pickup and sandlot games that Billy was participating in. Billy's dad, on the other hand, was too busy watching his older boys' high school games to show any interest in his middle son, although that trend changed considerably when Billy finally started playing high school baseball. In time, his father came to the realization that his older boys had come to the end of the road, at least as far as baseball was concerned. Michael had called it correctly many years before when he told Billy that his brother's baseball talents were not extraordinary. Mr. Green was now leaving it up to Billy to make up for his brother's shortcomings. Although Billy was aware of his father's expectations, he felt no pressure during the games because he knew that he had the God-given talent to move on to the next level. Michael recalled the events that took place after Billy hit a late-inning home run to win a game. He remembered how Billy always found a way to avoid his fair-weather father's company when the games ended. Billy's rationale was based simply on the fact that his father never took any interest in him until all other family options were exhausted. So why should he now allow his father to bask in his glory when he had always been treated like an afterthought? Billy showed his loyalty to those who were loyal to him, and so he chose Michael before his father. He and Michael always found a way to meet up secretly after games to celebrate. He recalled how on this occasion they met up at a large picnic area next to the road and sat across from each other and discussed the game. Michael, what did I tell you would happen if you hung a curveball in front of me? I do recall that you told me that you would dismiss it from the ballpark. And what did I do? You dismissed it, all right, with extreme prejudice. That's right. I like that extreme prejudice adjective. Can you picture me hitting that same pitch out in Comiskey? Sure I could, but you can't make it to the major leagues and not be able to hit a ball like that out of the ballpark, Billy. Hey, Michael, don't rain on my parade, okay? I'm just trying to keep you down to earth, kid. Always trying to ground me. You just don't want my head swelling up, do you? I guess not, Michael chuckled, adding, I just want you to be a realist, Billy. I don't want you to have flights of fancy. I understand completely where you're coming from, Michael, but I'll clue you in on the only thing I'm completely sure about. And that's that I have enough talent to play professional ball somewhere. What level, I'm really not so sure. But I am sure one thing. I won't get cut by any D-level team like Madden'sville like my brothers did. You're right. Right now you're good enough to play in the minors. If your game continues to improve, you could possibly even make it to the majors. But Billy, believe me when I tell you that there's a lot more to life than baseball. There is? Billy remarked, trying his best to be sarcastic. Yes, there is, Billy. You might want to dismiss it sometimes, but there's a lot more good in you than the fact that you can hit a baseball. Billy, I'd love you if you ended up being a garbage man. It's the person that counts, not what you do. You know, sometimes I think you want to prove something so that your old man will give you the love that you deserve, but what you don't seem to understand is that if he doesn't love you now, he won't really love you then either. So if you want to be a pro ball player, do it for yourself, not for me or your father, but for you, because you're the one who's going to have to live with it. See, I thought you told me a long time ago that you'd never lie to me, but you're doing it right now. You couldn't possibly love me as much if I was a garbage man. Guess you'll have to go and be a garbage man to find that out, Michael declared humorously. Billy got up quickly and grabbed a couple of paper cups that were littering the picnic area. He deposited them in the refuse container. With a big smirk on his face, he then inquired, "Do you still love me, Michael?" Michael saw Billy asking that half-serious question from so long ago as vividly as if it happened yesterday. The memory of the alive and fun-loving Billy brought him back to reality once again. "Why'd you do it?" Michael muttered to himself. "I told you how much you meant to me. Why didn't you believe me? Why couldn't you have at least come and talked it over with me? We could have worked it out. Why? Why? I have to know why," he lamented. He became suddenly aware of his lack of emotional stability and tried his best to calm down and reason out the answers to those enigmatic questions. Unfortunately for him, there were no acceptable answers. What the boy did was uncalled for. These painful thoughts made him want to dwell on the past even more. He knew that at least in the past there was life. He could only wish that the same held true for the future. He took off his shirt, which was now totally drenched with perspiration, and continued to dig. His thoughts brought him back to 1939, the year Billy won All-City baseball honors. One evening, while the White Sox were out of town, he invited Billy to come out to the stadium with a prerequisite that he come dressed in his game uniform. He had a crystal clear picture of Billy in his head as he arrived at Comiskey that night. All the lights were turned off in the stadium, and he had left the gate open for him. He watched intently as Billy, for the most part blindly, made his way onto the field. "Michael! I'm here! Michael! I'm here! Hey, Mike! Why don't you turn on some lights?" Billy announced into the darkness. Michael did not respond. Instead, he kept a close eye on Billy's progress from the stadium control room. He noticed that Billy was wandering around aimlessly, so he finally decided to give him some instructions over the public address system. "Billy, find your way to the diamond. In fact, go to the pitcher's mound. I will join you there shortly." Michael's voice blared over the loudspeakers. Michael sat back and watched Billy's shadow arrive at the middle of the baseball diamond. He then turned on the new stadium field lights. Billy stared out at the mesmerizing lights that surrounded him and for an instant got a taste of the future of professional baseball. Billy looked around in awe at the illuminated stadium surrounded by the nighttime skies. Michael saw the joy on Billy's face as he proudly stood in game uniform on that infield grass. A few minutes later, he came down to join him on the field. "It's amazing, huh, Billy?" "You ain't kidding. This is the big time. I want to play on this field someday, Michael. Did you ever think that you'd live to see night baseball? 1939 is going to be one hell of a year in the city of Chicago. Technology, my boy, that's what this is all about. But to answer your question, sure, it's hard to believe for me. But you got to remember, I was born into a world where there were no cars or planes or anything that your generation has taken for granted. So, Billy, what do you think of baseball in the future?" "I think it's going to be absolutely great, Michael. And I'm going to play a big part in it." "What are you talking about?" I'm talking about being signed by the White Sox. They gave me a minor league contract, Billy gloated. You're kidding me, right? No joke. I'm supposed to report to some team called the Longview Cannibals. That's one of their C-class farm teams. They play in the East Texas League. I leave next week. Considering the enormous amount of money they're paying me, cannibalism might turn out to be a viable option. Seriously speaking, though, can you believe it? I told you this was going to happen. Well, congratulations, Billy. I know this is what you wanted, and you worked mighty hard to get it. I'm very proud of you, kiddo, Michael said while fighting back his tears. Billy saw Michael's eyes well